So this is a video on changing the prop. This is a F115 LB 2018 onwards model. It's a 2020. And here I have an Australian prop. This one's not an original Yamaha OEM. It's an Australian one, and they're pretty cheap on eBay. So that's what I've got, and they work pretty good. The reason I'm using aluminum is you can see it here. You can see this fin. It's not like this fin because it hit an underwater obstacle. So aluminum will bend before your gear shaft bends. When you go in shallow waters, use an aluminum prop, and you won't have a problem with your gear shaft getting destroyed. You can see the edge profile, it's bent out of shape. So these aren't worth repairing because they're so cheap. So you can get these for like 50-60 bucks. They're from Australia and they work pretty good. I have had them professionally tested out at a lab, and they do match the specs of the original. The blades are slightly thicker, but that's good. They don't bend as easily as the original, and it's not worth repairing these because they're so cheap. You just buy a new one. So this is a new one, same deal. You can see it's brand new. The fins are not bent, and this has again been professionally tested out. It comes with a hub built in, which is what you expect, and then you can see the broken one has the bent blade, and it also has this chipping here, while the new one is pretty good. It doesn't have anything. So yeah, first thing is remove this locking thing with a pair of pliers, and then unscrew the nut, and then basically tighten it up, replace the prop, etc. So first thing we're gonna do is get these two teeth, get this little thing. Alright, and you can replace this pin, but it usually lasts about 4 or 5 prop changes, and since I go into shallow waters and dangerous waters, it's easier to replace the prop once in a while. So I don't use a stainless steel prop, I just use the aluminum ones, which are cheap. So to get the prop off, you basically just have to use this guy. This is a 1 1/16 deep socket. This goes around the prop thing, and then you'd use your torque wrench. It's tightened to 55, so you can just because this thing will rotate, you'd use a block of wood to block it in, so that way when it rotates, it'll hit the block of wood and it will not damage itself. So basically you just break it off with a little force. It's tightened to 55 to 65 foot-pounds normally. So it's the usual lefty loosey, righty tighty. So once you've got it broken out, then it's pretty simple. I pull it out and then swing it by hand. So a nut comes out. I have my grease gun with the Yamaha lube grease in it. I remove the blocking wood. I can slide the prop out as shaft. Gently slide it out. If you slide it out gently, because there is a pin here. There's a little, and this is what you need for the new prop. So you can see my shaft already has grease on it because it's being greased. That also, you can remove that. So that one goes first, and then you put your grease on and then put the second one. So here's my old new one, and compare that to the old one with the bent blade. So you can see the blade is bent compared to the new one. So new dose of grease, and reverse the process. So a large amount of grease on the shaft, and grease is cheap, so you don't need to try and economize. And then I put the new prop on. So new prop goes on. I've got these which are greased as well. So these are ready to go. Make sure that the spines slot in correctly. And it snaps into place nicely. And then this guy goes on to lock it in. Locks into place, followed by this guy, washer, and then nut. And then you torque this to, depending on your outboard, you torque it to about 55 foot-pounds usually, but it could be more or less depending on your outboard. So do check the manual for the exact torque measurement. Normally I do mine to 55 foot-pounds, so need to block it in again with the block of wood. Goes in there, and lefty loosey, righty tighty, same thing as usual. So turn it right to use the tension. Make sure that the dot, the little hole, aligns with one of these, so you can shove the pin through. And you can use the old pin if it's not in too bad of a shape. So here's my pin. It's okay shape, it's not great, but so it can slide in. But first I'll torque it down. So torque wrench is here. Slide it in. And then make sure that it's once you do a final tightening, make sure it's 55 foot-pounds. You can see it's 55 foot-pounds. That's the job done. Now I just align the holes and shove the thing through. You can see it's almost aligned automatically. So maybe a little, half an inch, or maybe half a centimeter off. So we'll tighten it a little bit more, not exceeding the roundage limit. So you don't want to over torque the prop as well. So maybe a little squeezy, just to get it to fit. And there you go, now the hole is aligned, and that's all we need basically. Put the pin in, and just use the pliers and just squeeze the pin in through the hole. That's about it. You can see the pin has gone in. You can hold it with these pliers and just whack it a little bit, push it in all the way. Once it's locked, a little bit of effort with the pliers and a rubber hammer, I will get it to sit correctly, and she's ready to use.